You might recognize today's guest as the psychological astrologer who's made waves on platforms like Goop with her book, A Map to Your Soul. Today, Dr. Jennifer Freed is diving into all things astrology with us, answering common questions like, is sign compatibility really a thing? And how can unresolved family trauma affect our romantic relationships? We're getting into all of that and more. This is Advocate Now. Dr. Freed, this is such a powerful combination because you combine psychology and astrology to help people reach their full potential. But what first led you to merge these two aspects in your practice?
Well, as a young person, around 18, I was fascinated by human beings. I'm an Aquarius, always wanted to know what makes people tick. And I started studying both at the same time, and it was a natural confluence of interests. And because I dug deep into both, they ended up being a perfect combination.
And it's so interesting when you break it down because you say, as a psychologist, you're looking at biological, familial, and personality-driven patterns in human behavior. As an astrologer, you're looking at someone's divine DNA based on their birth chart. So I would imagine that merging those would give someone probably the most accurate view of how and why they operate the way they do. Would you agree?
Absolutely. That's why I've never advertised and I've never had an opening. It's like people really enjoy this for some reason. So I'm very fortunate that I have a practice that is really useful and practical for people.
And you say that together, these two modalities can really help lead someone to their highest potential by deepening their relationships and their daily joy. But what is the process like when it comes to assisting someone using psychological astrology? When they first come to you, how do you even get started?
Well, we spend 5 or 6 minutes just looking at their general cosmic DNA, what are their life patterns? And then I ask them, what's going on? Where could you have a higher vibration, a higher application? And then with my psychological skills, we really get into where are the blocks? Where are the divine possibilities? How can we use your strengths to address your weaknesses? And it becomes a very intense, emotional, and honest dialogue.
And, psychological astrologers look underneath at what's motivating someone's behavior. So I love that you have said it's not telling you what you are, it's telling you why you are. Do you think that can almost give someone permission and the space to forgive themselves and perhaps clear any shame over past patterns and behaviors? Because they can finally say, this is why I behaved in this way.
Yeah, I think knowing what's underneath the hood always helps us address the engine. And so my job is to help you become self-aware so you make the best possible choices. You're the expert on you, but if I can help you see what you haven't been able to understand, you have more power in the knowledge.
Amazing. And in your latest book, it's called A Map to Your Soul. There's a chapter on the support styles of each of the 4 elements, which are, of course, earth, fire, air, and water. And you say knowing your own style and the styles of other people, especially people we're close to, can help us get and give better support. So how do we discover our support styles?
Well, there's an inventory in the book. So I really recommend everyone get A Map to Your Soul because you can do the inventory, your friends, your partners can do the inventory. And I know because some businesses have been doing it, it's incredibly revelatory to have people say, well, I actually need you to bring me a glass of water. That's what supports me. Whereas someone like me, I need a lot of encouragement and words of affirmation. I don't really care if you bring me the water. I like that too. But I think you just have to get honest with what actually moves you and helps you feel supported. And you have to realize we're not all built the same. And so for somebody, a big gift and a big celebration is their sweet spot. But for somebody else, that's horror. They don't want that. So it's just starting to recognize that you have these needs, other people have these needs, but to make them explicit instead of a guessing game.
Yeah, you make such an important point because we do tend to grow up thinking that other people need the same thing that we need. But you say everyone's made up of their own kind of cosmic DNA. I love that term, right? But let's say I'm an air sign, for example. does that necessarily mean that that is my support
Well,
style?
what is your birthday?
June 16th.
Okay. And do you know what time you were born?
I was born at 11:11 p.m.
Okay. So then that probably means that your rising sign is Virgo. Do you know that? Or
It's
no?
Aquarius.
Oh, Aquarius. Interesting. Gemini. Okay. So you're two air. So air is mental, air is conversation, air is ideas, air is having an understanding and being able to have really robust debates and not have to have agreement, but understanding. So if you had a lot of air in your chart, that's only two, but if you had a lot more air in your chart, we would start to imagine that a support language for you is somebody that will tell you the truth, keep in touch with you, be a reliable communicator, help you to understand what you're thinking and what your goals are. So that would be very supportive to you.
Yeah, no, I would say that's definitely true. And is it mainly dependent upon, what our chart looks like? If we're heavy in earth, then it's more of those aspects. And if we're heavy in fire, it's more of those aspects.
It's not quite as simple as that, because sometimes what we have the most of, we don't need more of. So the great part about the psychological astrology is your chart is not the destination. It's just a motivation. So you have to do the inner work to figure out, what are my needs? Where can I grow? How can I let people know how to support me? So there's no cookie cutter quick answer for that type of question.
And speaking of the four elements and identifying our needs, I mean, that can also apply to wellness practices too. For example, a certain element might need more calming, grounded healing modalities and therapies. Others need more fiery excitement, right?
Completely. So for example, I have a lot of fire and air. And so for me, every morning I do Qi Gong, which is very settling and very calming. And it's much more like water because it's a meditation movement. Everybody has to start realizing that to be in balance, we need to have all four elements very strongly embedded in a daily life.
I want to talk to you about relationships and compatibility. There's a theory that certain signs are more compatible with each other than others, but you say that's not necessarily true.
I know it's not true. I mean, I've been working with thousands of people over 40 years, and there's absolutely no correspondence between sun sign compatibility. And that's what usually the pop astrology is talking about. Oh, you're a Gemini, you shouldn't be with a Cancer, you should only be with such and such. No, the only thing you really need to have a great relationship is two healthy people willing to do personal growth work. And I just invented a personal relationship check-in tool with Nebula Horoscope, where you can go for free and actually evaluate on a daily level, like you do your steps, how many steps you're taking toward a healthy relationship. Because I know for a fact, you can't have a healthy relationship unless you put the steps in.
I would imagine that when people look at you and your title and what you do, that it's more so your PhD in psychology that most people might feel more comfortable with. Have you found that it's been more challenging to legitimize the astrological aspect of your work in people's eyes? Because I think it's really important to raise awareness about how powerful astrology is.
Let me put it to you this way. I'm very successful. I feel incredibly fulfilled. I would say I get at least 10 hate comments a week on one of my social media. I mean, really like dangerously hateful. And I'm thinking, what is so threatening to people? So yes, the credibility around astrology has a long way to go, because it really activates some old narratives around it being witchcraft or something not helpful.
Dr. Freed, so informative and enlightening. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, make sure you check out her book, A Map to Your Soul. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.